Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for choosing Across the Fence. I'm Will Michael in this afternoon for Judy Simpson. If you're watching this program, the chances are pretty good that you or someone you know is a family caregiver. And of course, being a family caregiver is no easy task. There are plenty of research studies that find that high rates of depression and anxiety among caregivers and increased vulnerability to health problems. Caregivers themselves frequently cite restriction of personal activities and social life as problems. So today we're going to learn about powerful tools for caregivers. It's a program that provides tools and strategies to better handle the unique caregiving challenges that you or someone you know might face. And we have two guests to discuss powerful tools for the Caregivers program, Lori McKenna and Jeannie Hutchins. Lori specializes in clinical social work with Fletcher Allen Healthcare, and Jeannie is the Executive Director of UVM Center on Aging and the Manager of Elder Care Services at Fletcher Allen. I want to thank you both for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Lori, why don't we start some of the common needs of caregivers. We think of patients who have needs, caregivers have needs.
Caregivers often do not have backup plans for themselves, so it can be very helpful if a caregiver can develop a system of support so that they can get time off from the role. Most jobs do provide time off, and caregiving is a situation where that does not happen naturally. So that's a prime component of something that a caregiver would need. The other thing would be having education about the disease that they are caregiving for, and also having family support and community support.
We know this. I think we all have either had it or have personal experience, friends, other family members, to know what caregiver stress looks like. And I wonder if you can't just touch on that for a moment.
Sure. Caregiver stress can look like a lot of different things. It can be emotional fatigue. It can be physical fatigue. It's quite common that caregivers have difficulty sleeping. Depression or anxiety, irritability can be common traits. Very often, caregivers can become quite socially isolated, that their world can become smaller because they may be providing more care and being less involved in their usual activities.
And it can impact family relationships, brothers and brothers, brothers and sisters, sisters and sisters. It has that ability to affect family relationships.
Well, one of the things that we say with a caregiving situation is that any family dynamics that already exist get magnified.
Magnified, exacerbated.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And so, yes, it can be trying on families. The other thing that is really common is that caregiving is often not equally shared, that many family members will do the pieces and parts that they can, but that may not look equal from their vantage point. Mm-hmm. So that can
and
create...
also it may not be complete for the patient who needs it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, in the introduction, of course, I mentioned the Powerful Tools for Caregivers program, Jeannie. Mm-hmm. In a nutshell, what is it? What is Powerful Tools?
Well, Powerful Tools for Caregiver is an educational program that was actually designed by Dr. Lord from Yale following the chronic disease self-management protocol. So it's for family caregivers. It's not for professional. It is 6 weeks long, so it's once a week for 6 weeks. The curriculum is either an hour and a half or 2 hours, depending on who's giving the class. And
one of the important points that you're making is family caregiver. We do outreach. We've done programs where it does apply to professional staff. This is a family piece. These are folks that you and I know, your family, my family. So we're untrained. We only have maybe our own experiences to draw on. Thus the 6 classes, somewhat in depth, and so on.
Right, and the classes are all about taking care of yourself. So it's about the caregiver. It's not about the person that's being cared for.
Now, you brought along another slide that helps us understand the types of issues that the classes address.
Mm-hmm. So it is about taking care of yourself. We actually do an action plan every week that everyone does over the next week, where they set aside some time to do something special for themselves, whether it's just taking a half hour to read a book or just giving themselves permission to do something. We identify reducing personal stress, identifying emotions, communicating. We do a couple of classes on communication so that people are more able to communicate with either the siblings or the other people they'd like to ask for help from, or with the medical people, community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of the key things I'm seeing there, not all of those 6 pieces are important, but we can't help but notice that the word communicating or communication appears twice. That really gets to the heart and soul. And again, our director, Roger Lewis, has put that back up. Communicating, because that's so important.
Yes, and also learning from our emotions. People identify what triggers emotions for them, what emotions they're having, so that they can better have tools, because we are teaching tools for them to relieve stress. If they're having anger issues or whatever, that they have tools that they can deal with those.
And again, you have another visual that helps us understand the kinds of things the caregiver can learn that allows them to take better care of themselves. And we haven't used the word yet, the phrase yet, evidence-based, but that's important when we talk about these outcomes, Jeannie, and maybe you can just touch not only on the outcomes, but what that means to be evidence-based, to mean that it works.
So when a program is evidence-based, it means that it has been given time and time again, and that each time the results are about the same. So why that's important for Powerful Tools for Caregivers is that we know it works, and also any organization that would like to provide Powerful Tools for Caregivers and are looking for funding, having that evidence-based designation helps to receive grants and that type of thing.
And given some of the challenges in these family situations, knowing that a family caregiver could take something like Powerful Tools and know that it's going to work, given the plethora of family situations, of the uniqueness, because no 2 things are the same.
Correct.
So knowing that it works, that peace of mind, yeah. Now there was, again, one other visual I wanted to get to, the idea that caregiving, and you've talked a little bit about this, very challenging, and sort of giving us some of the emotions and things that we've put up here, everything from anger and impatience, sadness. Those are common things.
Not only that, but the other thing that can be very beneficial to being in a class like this is that for the first time, many of these caregivers that participate are finding that they are not alone in the situation, that they can make connections with other caregivers, develop friendships, phone calls, that kind of thing, and that can be very powerful for people.
I guess we just can't underscore that enough, how important that is, Lori. An excellent point. You get in these situations and we see it again in our friends and stress and things that occur, and just being able to extract yourself from that a little bit, reflect. So I guess they call it Powerful Tools for a reason.
Yes.
Yeah. So in addition to offering something for this piece for family caregivers, you do also offer opportunities to become a leader for Powerful Tools. And Jean, you were going to address that a little bit.
Correct. Yes. So to become to present classes for Powerful Tools, you need to have some facilitation experience. You need to go through 2-day training. You need to have an organization that is behind you, and you need to have a co-leader, so you need to have someone identified. And Lori and I actually do training in the state, and I know you're going to give my email later, but we are planning on doing a training this summer. So there are about 20 people in the state that are trained to give this class, and we welcome more people. We'd like to offer it across the state, and we always have a waiting list for the classes, so training more leaders is very important.
Will you let us to it? So this is a good time to jump in. We've got a couple of minutes left, and we'll try to get this on the screen a couple of times before we're over. How does someone, if they want more information, either as a class leader or probably more importantly for our audience, the Powerful Tools for Caregivers, how can they find out more? How could they get on a waiting list? What do they need to do? If
you go to the Center on Aging website at UVM or Google Center on Aging at UVM, there's a tab there that we list the classes that are available in the state. and we will keep that updated, and that's the best way to do it.
And we welcome phone calls for people
Yes.
that don't use computers. We welcome that.
Lori in particular, we have just a couple of minutes left. Folks will be able to get online, make a phone call, get into Powerful Tools for Caregivers, but in the meantime, can you leave them with a couple of top 2 or 3 tips in terms of helping them in their own current family situation?
I think the most important thing is for people to take care of themselves, and I think that may not come naturally, that people may be more inclined to take care of their loved one first.
To be a caregiver to
First.
someone else first.
Exactly, but just like on an airplane, when you're taught to take the oxygen before you help, your child, it's very important to take care of your own health, because that will directly impact the quality of care that you can give. Second most important thing is to continue in the relationships that you have outside of your family, to not isolate. And the third most important thing is to understand the disease that you are caring for.
Very well said, and thank you both. As we go, I'm going to ask our director again, Roger Lewis, to put that full screen back on one more time so that people know if they want to learn about Powerful Tools for Caregivers, they can go to the Center on Aging website. That's at the University of Vermont, or go ahead and just send an email to Jeannie Hutchins at uvm.edu. You will also find the phone number by, as Jeannie said earlier, Googling the Center on Aging. Thank you both very much for being with us. A really important topic, I know, that cuts across our entire audience. We get questions about caregiving all the time, and really neat to know that there is a resource right here in Vermont for people who need it. So I want to thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That is our program today. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit across the fence.